How's everybody tonight? Good?
Good.
Good.
Brian, you'll tell me when we're ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that mean now?
Yes, we are now live on the broadcast. You may proceed.
Thank you, Brian. I'm officially calling our Coastal Advisory Committee meeting to order for the City of San Clemente on November 12th, 2020 at 6. Well, I don't have my time. My clock's not on there. Brian will fix it.
6:33.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. 6:33 p.m. Cynthia, would you go ahead, please, and give us the roll call?
How about Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge of Allegiance first.
Okay. You want me to lead that?
Sure.
Hold on.
Oh, with the full spirit with you.
Nice.
Okay. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it
stands
one
one
nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Cynthia. Well done. I'm going to put you right to work with the roll call.
Got it. Okay. Joe Zidron. Did we get you?
Present.
Excellent. Gary McCacken.
Here.
Doreen Campopiano.
Here.
Chair Ambrose.
Here,
Chris Kaczynski. He is absent.
absent,
And Charlie Smith.
was unable to make it tonight, but he's excited about joining us.
He is the new liaison from the Parks and Recreation Commission. So he'll plan on joining us for the next meeting.
All righty, great. Thank you.
You're
Let's
welcome.
move on to item 4, approval of minutes. Anybody have any comments about the minutes? Any modifications, addendums, corrections? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second? Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved by Gary McCracken, seconded by Doreen Campopiano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0 vote. It passes. Thank you very much. Let's move on to public input. Cynthia, do you have any emails for us?
Let me, I do not have any emails, but I'm going to check throughout the meeting, okay, as we're moving along. But I haven't received any, but I'll make sure to double check, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let us get on to the big one here, old business, our Coastal Advisory Committee work plan. Before we start, I'd like to let all of you know, although Cynthia was kind enough to send an email out to all of you, that the City Council approved our work plan. They had questions about 2 items. One was the water refill station, and they wondered if I had seen the different styles of water refill stations. I told them that I had, but I thought Cynthia knew more about that. Cynthia replied that she had not gotten some photographs from the county regarding some of the ones in Dana Point, etc., and offered to wait and get the photographs and bring the issue back on another time, which Councilwoman Ward promptly said, no, we're going to work on it right now. So I was pretty happy that she said no, because I certainly didn't want to have to come back again. And the other one that we discussed was, Cynthia, add in, please.
Let's see.
It was the, while you're looking at,
Drive-in movie night? No?
oh, okay, I thought you knew that, so I will.
Sorry, I don't
The
remember.
other one was there was another voice about that. It still was Kathy Ward's, Councilwoman Kathy Ward's though, but she was asking about how we were going to fund the refill station. And I did tell her that in our plan, in our goals, we did suggest that we would confer with nonprofits and other interested private parties to try to gain their interest in reducing the amount of plastics on the ocean and also making a financial contribution. She was happy with that. She reminded us that she, in particular, does not like any names on donations, that they had done that for pure pride. And they didn't want to have all of these things donated with a bunch of names that should be memorialized. I told her that we would keep that in mind as we spoke to other people. And I can't remember the other one that she questioned about, but it was something that was easily conferred with. Cynthia, it'll come to you by the end of the meeting, please.
Maybe.
All right, if not to waste time here. So we got an overall unanimous vote for approval on our plan with some good work comments as well. So congratulations to all of you for all your hard work. All righty. Let us then get into one other thing she mentioned, now that I know what it was. She asked me if I had read the survey that was in the San Clemente Times. And I believe I sent you something about the survey, or we directed you to an article on the survey that was done perhaps maybe about a month ago now. And one of the questions had to do with the Clean Ocean Fee. And what did we think about that? And she had hoped we read it, because when the other one had to do with Clean Ocean Fee, as a matter of fact, in the educational program and how we were going to do that. So I advised her that we were very interested in the Clean Ocean program, that I looked at the survey and I thought it was a very small sample for a city this large. And I also pointed out the majority of the responders were senior citizens, and the younger age group responded very favorably towards the Clean Ocean Fee, while the over 55 group and over 65 group was not as positive about the Clean Ocean Fee. However, I did bring up that some of the questions were not just black and white questions. They were attached to, would you approve the Clean Ocean Fee money to be used for correcting a slide on a hill, or some things of that nature, that, when you weigh one or the other, or a parking lot that belonged to the city. If you don't know how the Clean Ocean Fee works and all of the issues that we work with and repair and maintain, that's a hard answer for the average person to answer without having, why would I want to pay for that? Why would I want to pay for somebody's parking lot? But they may not know it's city owned, etc. So anyway, I assured her that we would take all of those things into account, and that we would be doing, as part of the education program with other people, we would try to involve community members. And I also advised her that in my work with Earth Day and just even everyday meetings on the street with people, or in the stores with people, or the post office, that I frequently run into people who ask me what's going on with the Coastal Advisory Committee, or what's going on with this issue, or what's going on with sea level rise, or what are you doing about the bluff, or the whatever it is, the sea, the water coming up so high. When are you doing sand pushing? Those kinds of things. I said, that shows me there's a lot of interest from all kinds of ages throughout the community that really support coastal issues and are concerned about them. So I think that mollified her, and at least satisfied her. So she knew that we were on. She wished us luck in dealing with all groups of people, all ages of people. So that is my report on that meeting that we had. And I thank Cynthia for supplying some last minute data that I needed, just in case we were asked. I should have reminded her that we might get asked the question she was asked about the dimensions of all of the water refill stations, but that's okay. We moved on. It was overwhelmingly supported. All righty, let's move on then to the next item. If there's no questions from anybody? No questions, comments? Okay. Let's go on then to the Coastal Advisory Work Plan. Cynthia, why don't you take that on? Introduce what we're doing.
Yeah, okay, you can hear me. The next steps is to walk through each of the projects in the work plan that was approved by City Council, and come up with a list of what the next steps are to implement each project.
And we were looking at the work plan, and Cindy and I went through just to try to make a draft to make it easier for everybody. I pulled out the work plan that we did from 2019 with our goals and with our objectives. And some of those objectives are actually action type items. And she put her head into it as well. And between us both, we have a rudimentary piece of paper here, 1¼ pages, for your looking. But you can also refer to the 2020 work that we did. And Cynthia, I didn't remind you about this, but it was this one. The Coastal Advisory Committee Annual Work Plan. It was talking points for me. Did all of you have a copy of this? I thought I had asked you to send that to everybody so they would know what I was saying. Does this look familiar to you? Is this
No.
backwards when you see it?
No, it looks forward, but I didn't email that out today. That was probably.
No. I thought it was emailed out from when I was doing the presentation with the city council, just so they would know what I was
It
saying.
may have been, but for today, I emailed out the draft of the action steps.
Yes, I saw that.
We were planning on discussing. So hopefully everybody received that and is checking their emails to look for that, hopefully. Because that went out this afternoon at 2:00.
Yes. I'm looking for it right now. It looks like this with the big draft on it. Can all of you see this? Would you let me know if you have that in front of you or visible to you?
So Susan, is this, I have something from Cynthia and there's item 8A or 8B. Is that right? Or is that the right email?
No.
No.
There was another email today at 2:00 that had this attachment.
Huh. Oh, okay. Okay. I see it.
It had a couple other attachments as well. One
Okay.
was the coastal cleanup day state data, the entire state.
So should we be opening up the PDF or the Microsoft Word document?
Let's see, let me double check.
Because there's one that says CAC 2021 work plan action, and then there's CAC work plan June 2019.
Well,
Word.
you should actually open both of them if you can, because you may want to reflect on some of the things we said in our 2019 comments. We
Okay.
were very specific in terms of what we were going to do with each of those topics, those issues that we were including in our goals. However, with the 2021 plan, we reduced our goals to, I think, what is it,
9 items.
9 items. Thank you.
Mhm.
And so that's less than we had before, but it was very detailed. This is merely a start to an implementation plan so we can get going on working on these key issues. So if everybody has this in front of them, so we can consult it as we're talking, that would be helpful.
Which is the PDF version. The Word version is the 2019 work plan that we worked on, and then we
Oh.
got direction from City Council to develop a 2020-21 plan, which was approved. And now this PDF document is something that Susan and I drafted together to try and come up with next steps to implement each of the projects on the 2021 work plan.
And
Okay,
this is
thank you.
just a first start. That's why draft is in large letters across it. So if you want to pull out your 2021 plan as well, let me, now with the circles, that begins like this. For future reference, Cynthia, we should make note of what we should have at hand on these kinds of issues. It just would be a good idea, good help for people to better prepare.
Okay.
Because we're going to go through each of these items as with this draft element and discuss them or see what you think. And remember, this is a living document, at least our action items are. So we can add to, and if we see something happening, we can remove something that's not going to be successful, et cetera.
And that's what I'll do tonight is I have the Word version of the PDF for our action items, and I'll type into this Word document the changes that the CAC agrees upon to implement each of the projects.
Okay, let's go ahead and start unless there's any questions. Does everybody have that draft that you can look at? Could you
Yes.
respond by raising your hand or saying yes?
Yes.
A
Yes.
thumbs up, good. Doreen?
Yes, I have it. Thank you.
Okay, great. So let's start at the pure bacteria source characterization study, excuse me. I mean, you can see that we made this short and sweet. And remember, we added some specifics here on our purpose, goals, and deliverables. If you're looking at the 2021 plan, the work plan that was approved by the city council. This is the first item on our work plan, the pure bacteria. So for just some very brief comments, just for action items, and we can embellish, we can reduce, we can add to, etc. It's an open thing. You can see what we have here. Continue participation in the SAC meetings and have a CAC-SAC member report back to Coastal Advisory. We have that with Doreen. Review study results and provide recommendations to City Council including implementation of identified VMPs. Well, that should say provide recommendations to SAC, to our CAC representative and SAC. Is everybody in agreement with that? You can speak right up if you are, or let me know by a signal or something.
I guess it would depend on what is the scope of the responsibility of the SAC, right? Are they an implementing organization, or are they just a study group? What is the scope of that group's mission, if you will?
Well, they not only study and listen and review the results that are coming towards them, they're also evaluating the recommendations that the consultant is making. So, and then they can make recommendations to staff or to Dave or to the city council, pending on their agreement. Does that pretty much cover that, Cynthia?
Yeah, they were established to review the data, obviously look at originally at the original work plan and give any comments or feedback on how to move forward with the work plan. And then they are presented with data, they're presented with recommendations of BMPs, and they are an advisory group. They do vote and they are appointed by city council. So
Okay.
They're official. They're an
yeah, you can
official.
review the
committee.
data and provide comments and feedback. And there'll be another SAC meeting, and Doreen is the member. Doreen is our appointed CAC member that sits on the Stakeholder Advisory Committee.
Yeah, I just read this item as someone's got to go to city council and trying to get them to spend money to do what the study shows, right? Is that going to be Coastal Advisory Committee, or is that going to be the SAC that goes to the city council and says, hey, we need money to implement what the study is saying, you know?
Well, it's usually both of us.
Yeah.
No, it's usually both of us.
So
That's why we have representation on the committee. So Doreen can come back, and that's what's happened in all of these events with the SAC. Doreen has come back and enlightened us along with Cynthia, and we vote on it. But usually
Right.
at the time when it hits the SAC, they're asked to vote on it. So usually our vote is after theirs.
Yeah, and that's what happened previously. I think there was when the city was looking for additional funding for additional monitoring, and it went to the SAC first, and then that was, I believe, approved, right? And then it came to
Yeah.
us right after.
Yes.
And then after those both groups reviewed the information, and that information was presented to the city council, and city council was informed that the Stakeholder Advisory Committee and the Coastal Advisory Committee approved this work plan or this additional money for these different tasks. Yeah.
Right.
But this study is wrapping up. It should be done by December. Never know, it might continue, but
Well, my point is, we should review the study results and provide recommendations as appropriate, through Doreen to the SAC, because it's meeting one more time. This is not a dead issue. And this is still an active body, and this is an active work plan. So when they're no longer, I guess when we can remove it, that's why this is a living document. So my suggestion is to add review study results and provide recommendations to CAC and SAC. So it would be to ourselves, I guess, or actually that's not needed, to SAC and to City Council, including implementation of identified BMPs.
Okay, yeah,
Because-
I agree. I think that makes sense. If you put SAC and city council, that's great.
Yes.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else have a question about that, or can we? I'm going to take not a vote, a consensus or an agreement on this, as we've done in the past. So are all in favor of adding and SAC to SAC and the City Council to my
Yeah.
proposal?
Yes.
Okay,
Aye.
that's
Yes,
4-0.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. And then, of course, the last one is monitor the effectiveness of the BMPs. Well, yes, and we would do the same kind of report. Is it necessary to repeat that but because Doreen is on our committee, so she would still be taking that back. I don't know that that's required that we add that action, but if somebody Doreen, do you want to add that on, that you will be the messenger to take it back?
Of monitoring the effectiveness of the BMPs
Yes,
and reporting
back to
That-
the SAC.
back to the SAC and City Council.
Well, it would go jointly probably to City Council with whatever recommendations we made. If something, either we're saying it's good, everything's fine, or we might ask them to consider something or look at something in addition.
Right. I'm just wondering if monitor the effectiveness of the BMPs is actually already included in reviewing the study results, because isn't the study results going to come up with BMPs?
Well, I think
Or
this
do
was
we-
a futuristic comment that was made. So when
Right.
the PMPs went into place, at least that's how I read it. If you recall, how are we going to keep track of what decisions were made, and how are we going to have the foresight to track this? So I think one of us suggested that we monitor it to see what's happening there. In other words, the pure bacteria issue is also a living issue, as with all of our beaches.
Right. But do we have to be more definitive in how we when we say monitor the effectiveness of the BMPs, are we just doing that by looking at the monthly water quality data? Is that how we're monitoring the effectiveness? Or is the consultant coming up with some sort of plan to monitor the BMPs after they're installed?
Well, that's a good question for Cynthia.
Yeah, so we are actually looking at the water quality data because this Stakeholder Advisory Committee and the Coastal Advisory Committee did approve or recommend the additional netting under the restaurant, the bird deterrent
Right.
netting. And so right now the consultant is looking at the data, the water quality data, and comparing it from 2015 all the way to this year to see, to determine if the netting was effective in improving water quality. So really it is the consultant that's doing that analysis, but it is information that's going to be brought back to the Stakeholder Advisory Committee to share that data and analysis. So it is the consultant and the city collaborating on determining if the BMP is effective.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, but does that answer the question, Joy?
I think so. I just wanted to make sure that, we knew what that meant when it says monitoring the effectiveness of the long-term or of the BMPs. Because I think it sort of could be seen as, it's pretty open-ended, right?
It is.
Yeah. And I'm okay with that if we just sort of want to define it as we go along. because we could look at it from, like you said, looking at what the consultant's providing us, and then in conjunction, looking at the water quality data that we view on a monthly basis, and then seeing if there's continued problems in that area.
But I think you hit a good point. I think we should add, by looking at their current water quality assessments that are made and other observations that may come to our attention or something like that. But at least I think we should note that.
Okay.
Well, we could change the key word there is monitor. Maybe it's assess the effectiveness of the BMPs based on what the consultant provides.
Well,
'Cause-
based on our water quality testing.
Yeah, I think you should just add of the water quality testing, which we get every month.
Yes.
Monitor the effectiveness of the BMPs or the water quality data on the monthly
Yeah.
one,
Yes, I think so too.
something like
Okay.
that.
And
Water
then
quality
if
data.
after you go to your meeting in December, Doreen, you could pass that along and maybe somebody else has other suggestions in terms of
Okay.
monitoring, or you could address your question to the consultant to see if there's other ways that they're going to monitor as part of their
Okay.
follow-up.
Okay, I think that's good.
Okay, Cynthia, do you have those corrections, those amendments?
Yes.
Could you read what you put down, please?
Right now it says continue participation in SAC meetings and have SAC member report back to CAC. Review study results and provide recommendations to SAC and City Council, including implementation of identified BMPs, and monitor the effectiveness of the BMPs based on water quality data.
Well, I thought the second sentence said to SAC and City Council.
That's right.
Okay, all right, I didn't hear that part. Okay, everybody in favor of that?
Yes.
Joe's nodding yes. Doreen?
I was on mute. Yes.
Okay, great. So let's move on, unless somebody has anything else to add. No takers? Let's move on to Heal the Bay's Nowcast modeling system for predicting water quality at San Clemente beaches. Okay, I'm just going to read this out loud because sometimes it gets more attention that way. City staff will add this task to a request for proposal for consultant assistance to analyze track/data at the clock tower monitoring station. Second one is anticipated timeline for consultant to be on board in February 2021. I want to read to you what we put in this document, my 20 talking points, my 2020 talking points, because I think it sounds a little more explanatory. It says, evaluate whether this model is a reliable system for predicting water quality at San Clemente beaches, which was our goal. And then it says, hire a consultant to assess daily Nowcast posting and compare with actual fecal indicator bacteria data collected by Orange County. I think that second one we should add in here. We have hire a consultant, but we already have the consultant.
No, we
So
don't.
you have anticipated timeline for consultant.
We don't have the consultant on board yet.
That's right. Well, okay, so we can still use the word hire a consultant. Does anybody want me to read that again? Or what do you think of that statement?
So I guess, I mean, what are we prepared to spend to make sure that we understand whether or not the model is accurate? And how much data is a consultant going to have, right? They're going to have twice weekly sampling, right? I mean, I guess you could come up with a methodology. I guess you could come up with an RFP to get a consultant on board. I would just say, how much are we as a committee willing to recommend that they spend on this proposal? And what is the benefit or the value we believe that's going to drive to the citizens of San Clemente?
I think those are good points. I was concerned about the hiring a consultant too, but Cynthia explained that the Heal the Bay model uses 3 different companies that take assessments that are historical, actually, aren't they? They're not up-to-date assessments, are they, Cynthia?
So Heal the Bay uses the data from 3 different agencies. And they look at that data, plus they also use weather, they use tide, they use currents, they use a variety of different other information to enter into the model. And then the model does a prediction on every single day. So if we really want to analyze if this model is effective in predicting accurate water quality, the consultant would have to look at the nowcast model every single day and then compare that with the actual water quality data that the Orange County Healthcare Agency compiles. So it's I mean, I don't know how long it'll take. I have no idea what the cost will be. We don't have money in the budget right now to pay for this in the Clean Ocean Program budget, but City Council approved this work plan item. So I don't know how much it's going to cost, but I have to release an RFP for a variety of other technical support services for the Clean Ocean Program. So I'll just add this in as one of the tasks, and until the consultant comes back with a dollar amount, I have no idea how much it's going to cost.
Well, in your estimated project cost, you put $5,000.
Yeah, that was a wild guess. I don't really know over time, because they do have to look at, I mean, it doesn't take very long to look at the Heal the Bay
Right.
website each day and see if there's a smiley face, kind of medium face, or a sad face. But we already know that in the summer this year that I saw that I just happened to be on their website and saw that they had predicted at the clock tower, the marine tower, that it was poor water quality when we hadn't had any exceedances in that site for years. So.
Yeah. All right. And to your point, it is a city council approved work item. You know, I'm personally curious. I just want to make sure we don't get out of control with what a consultant's going to charge us to look at two numbers, or how we've scoped in the final report, or just what we're asking for them to deliver. But again, personally curious, yes. Do I think it derives a benefit for the city? It depends on how much the consultant is going to charge. So, but to your point, it is an approved work plan item. So why not throw it out there and see what the cost comes back as, and maybe we have the money to do it.
I mean,
I've
I
got a
like the
question.
idea. I love the idea of using their model. It'd be great if it was accurate, but
Right.
when that happened this summer, it made me a little nervous.
Right. But it's also like, why are we, you know, we're a small city, 60,000, whatever, 70,000 people, you know, why isn't LA County taking them on? Have they run their validation? Has anybody else tried to validate the models? And I'm happy if San Clemente wants to be the first one to dip our toe in the water and say, hey, your model sucks, you know, too bad. But
That's a good question,
should it be
Joe.
totally absorbed by the, you know, the taxpayers of San Clemente? I guess that's the question. But again, approved a work plan item. I think it reads fine, and I think it's cool. I'm curious to see what the results are.
Well, that's a good question, though, about just even the day, you know, you wanted this to be a daily assessment, Cynthia, but the county only assesses on one day a week unless there's a problem. Then they do a confirmation assessment as well. So the maximum the county would test is twice a week, and that would be only if there was a seen problem or a change in the water quality that was significant. So why wouldn't we do, you know, dog for dog rather than ask them to do daily when they have nothing to measure against?
Because the model could show a sad face on Wednesday when water quality was fine on Tuesday. The Heal the Bay model could predict a poor water quality on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, even though water quality data samples taken on Tuesday were fine.
But when they use data, the data is not fresh data. Is that correct? They use sample exempts. Explain that to us again, would you please?
You mean Heal the Bay?
The companies that Heal the Bay uses for their model.
Heal the Bay doesn't hire any companies. These are agencies, Orange County Healthcare Agency, the Orange County Public Works, and the South Orange County Wastewater Authority pool their money together to send people out to go collect samples from hundreds of beach segments throughout Orange County. So those are the three agencies. And so when you go on to ocbeachinfo.com, which is, it's the same location, they go to the same data portal that we do to get the bacteria reports. They grab that data and enter it into the model along with tides, temperature, wave action, currents, that type of thing. And then they just put that in the model, and then the model spits out a happy face, a medium face, or a sad face.
So because different cities have different measuring testing dates, they have access to daily data.
I do not know if they have access to daily data. I mean, I don't get the data for 2 weeks later. Or ocbeachinfo.com, down at the bottom of their website. I don't get the actual data until 2 weeks later after they've sampled. So I'm assuming Heal the Bay doesn't get it till then either, which is the reason why Heal the Bay is developing this model, because they don't want people to have to wait 2 weeks to see if, although ocbeachinfo.com will have a red, green, or yellow light if the data, depending on the data, the next day, they will show that, but they don't show the actual measurements until 2 weeks
Yes,
later.
you said you thought this would give us data sooner. You
Gives
didn't
you
want to
a
wait so long.
It gives you a prediction, not data. It's a predictive
Ah,
model.
okay.
From, from the past years, can the consultant that we might get through the RFP look at like past years where we do have data and what their model predicted? Not just in the future, but Heal the Bay, this system's been in for a couple of years, right?
Yeah, and they've been monitoring sites for different sites for several years. They just started.
Will the consultant be able to go back like 2 years and look how Heal the Bay's model has sort of either followed or not followed the actual data that was taken from the ocean on that day? Or on
Yeah, I don't know if Heal the Bay keeps track of which sites, on each day, whether it was protective of water quality or not. I'm not,
whatever Heal the Bay has from the past to look at our past data.
yeah.
Because not only would it be forward, but they could look backward to
Yeah,
compare.
they would look backward at a different site, not in San Clemente. They'd have to go back and analyze a different site that the Heal Nowcast model's been being used. For example, I know down in Oceanside, the San Luis Rey River mouth, they've been predicting water quality at that location for a couple of years now. But this is the only site in San Clemente, and they just started it this spring,
Oh, okay.
using the Nowcast model.
But you mean using the clock tower spot,
Yes,
Correct. Yeah.
uninvited.
which is close to the pier?
Yes.
Yeah, it's north of the pier, 500 feet, 450,
add-
450 feet.
Take that assumption on past data.
Mhm.
Yes, I'm sure that was a strategic decision.
Okay.
In order to select a site, Heal the Bay needs hundreds of data points. They've gone back many years. For example, the sampling location underneath the municipal pier has only been sampled since 2015.
Hmm.
So when they presented to the Coastal Advisory Committee a couple of years ago, they don't recommend using the pier because it's only been 5 years of data. So they select particular sites that have had many, many years of data to put into the model. That makes it more accurate, I think, when they have a lot more data points to enter into the model.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
I'm in-
back to Joe's question about do you know if any, have you done some research or history on, do you know if any other, what other cities are using Hilda Bay and what their satisfaction level is?
No.
What could you find out?
I'd have the consultant find out. I mean, if we want to put that in as a task,
Well, I don't know that we'd have to pay for that. I think we could just call them and ask them. Ask what these cities, if they, what, what measuring, what company that they use to address, their beach bacteria counts.
Right.
they
And
don't,
I guess,
they don't
yeah.
use a particular company. They use the same.
No, I'm not
three-
talking, I'm talking about asking the cities that may use them, like Joe threw out Los Angeles. It could be other cities that are clients of theirs. I think Huntington Beach is, I thought. I read that in the newspaper.
A client of Heal the Bay.
Yes.
Nobody's a client of Heal the Bay. Heal the Bay does this all on their own, whether the cities want to give them permission or not.
Okay.
And
Well-
this may have been my fault. This is an approved work plan item, so there's probably not worth discussing other than let's make sure we get the language correct. And Susan, did you say you had a recommendation for a different type of language you wanted inserted under this item?
Well, I thought it was a language that we all came up with, or actually that we may have come up with, or Cynthia might have added to it. Hold on. It was, city staff will add this task to a request for proposal for consultant assistance to analyze track data at the clock tower monitoring system. That's what we did today, but let me look at the one, hold on, I just put that down. At the other one, the language that we had before for my talking points, when I presented this was, first of all, evaluate whether this model is a reliable system for predicting water quality at San Clemente beaches, and then hire a consultant to assess daily nowcast posting and compare with actual fecal indicator bacteria data collected by Orange County. That's really what we want them to do. We want them to do a comparison daily, which is what Cynthia suggested to us when we added this to our goals. What do you think about that now?
I think what we have here is broad enough for the RFP to be constructed, and then we'll look at it before it goes to the council, upon our recommendation to the council.
Well, no, we have to tell them what we want them to do. We want them to do daily testing and comparisons with the county data
Well,
to test for accuracy.
That'll be in the proposal, the RFP proposal.
All right, Cynthia's got her hand up too. I think she's wanting to respond to that. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't put in daily. I would see what the consultant proposes to analyze
Okay.
the data. I'm just thinking that every day you'd have to look at Heal the Bay to see if there's, what they're recording at that site. But maybe the consultant might come up with a different way to analyze the data and see if it's accurate.
Okay, so you're changing your mind to whatever they are suggesting, whatever they offer. I agree with Gary. Then we should see the RFP to see what you're asking for.
Right.
Okay, I typically don't bring the RFPs to, I think we can bring back, that's a challenge, because usually city staff will email out an RFP and analyze, when the proposals come back, we look at all the proposals internally as a team. And then, we don't typically bring the RFPs to the Coastal Advisory Committee to get their feedback on which consultant should be selected. So,
Well, that's not really what we're talking about. We're asking about what task would be done that would best serve the city. What tasks would be done? That's what we're talking about. Is that right, Gary?
Well, just as a courtesy, just when the RFP is ready to go out, not that we have to approve it or whatever, but just see what is it, what it's like. It doesn't even have to be in a meeting. You can just give it to us as a FYI. We have seen other RFPs before, but they were post.
Well, the point is, this is one of our goals. And we need to know what the language is going to be, if it's going to be different than what we've indicated on our plan that was approved.
Well, I think they will look at our annual work plan as the RFP is, constructed. I just don't want to micromanage. They're going to look at our annual work plan about what we've said as they put together the RFP.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, that what we have in the work plan could be included in the RFP.
Well, and that's what I suggested to you today too. I think we should go back to that suggestion. So it's really on the work plan. Do any of you have this at your availability? Our 2021 work plan?
Well, it does say city staff will add this task, and this task is project name Heal the Bays NowQuest. So if they're adding this task to the RFP, that means that I assume they're going to look at project name Heal the Bay, blah, blah, blah. Right? Because they're adding that task.
Well, no, this is the proposed, the draft. You're reading from the draft, Gary. The one that was approved by the city council is on this paper.
That's what I'm looking at. It says Heal the Bays Nowcast modeling system. And it
Okay,
says city staff will add this task, that's task number 2, to a request to an RFP. So I'm assuming this document here will also be given to the consultant as they put together or the city staff. As they put it together, they'll at least use this, because it says they're adding this task to RFP.
but I think you're reading from this draft, Gary, right here. Are you reading from this draft?
I'm looking at this draft, which says we'll add
Yes.
this task.
Yeah, oh,
It will
okay.
add this
But
task.
these are different tasks on here. This one, it says, for example, our goal. Yes, it's a goal, but also we're evaluating the program to determine if the model's results are effective in improving citizens' decision-making.
Right,
We
so-
also, B, increase tools available to the public to evaluate beach water quality. C, explore the accuracy and effectiveness in other cities, which is what Joe suggests. Joe asked that question about it.
Right.
Provide real-time, our purpose is to provide real-time predictive ocean water quality information to the public to make informed decisions to enter the ocean or not, plain and simple.
Right, so that when they're putting together their RFP, they're going to add this task, all that you just read, somehow to the RFP or this intention. So everything right here is going to be tasked to the RFP. So that's why I think number 2 is perfect as it's written here in the draft. Because that whole item, number 2 on our annual work plan, is the task that's being added to the RFP. They're going to look at it and see what our work plan task was or is.
I see what you're saying. I wasn't taking it that way, but I see that where you're coming from.
Right.
Does everybody understand Gary's point of view here? He's
Yeah,
thinking that the RFP will include all of these things that were approved by the city council in addition to the assessments.
Because that's the approved task.
yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay, let's go with that. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm totally good with that. My main point here is in my mind, this is a nice to have piece of information. If the pricing comes back correct from the consultant, then yes, it's nice. If the consultant takes this and goes way out of control, it's not worth it. That's my point here.
Well, the
Yeah.
council will decide that. Yeah.
Right, I was just gonna say that. That's up to the city council.
And then for those of you who have iPhones, the Heal the Bay now has an app that you could download called Beach Report Card. And I just downloaded it now while we were talking, and you can pull up San Clemente, and it actually has happy faces and sad faces depending on where you are in San Clemente. So
What was that
it's
again, Joey, please?
it's called Beach Report Card. So if on your phone, you can search for that on the App Store, and it's a Heal the Bay app that they developed. and you could see the happy faces and sad faces. Like,
Okay.
I guess today they put a sad face on North Beach, or
Okay.
7 days ago they did.
So just to give you some background on that, it's their information is somewhat confusing because they have the happy and sad faces at the beach sites. But the Nowcast model that's predicting water quality is only at one site. And it has like a squiggly line. So it's a little, and that's at the Marine Tower. Maybe if you're looking at that right now, Joreen, you can go look just north of the pier to see
Okay.
what they
So the
have.
other ones, they're using a different model?
They're not using any models at any of the other beach segments in San Clemente except for the Marine Tower. So the North Beach site, they probably based it on the Orange County Beach Info website.
Okay.
But the Marine Tower is the only site that's being the predictive model is, or the model is being used.
The clock
Okay,
tower.
okay. And I see that. So now there's actually a button that you can push that says Nowcast,
Yeah.
and then an all button, and then the all button must be based on actual monitoring data. So,
I think
Okay.
it's based on not the data because I don't know
not.
that they get it for a couple of weeks as well, but ocbeachinfo.com, they just give a green, yellow, or red light after each monitoring, which typically happens on Tuesdays in San Clemente. And then the results come back on Wednesday. OC Beach Info doesn't give us the actual data. You know, when you look at your bacteria reports, it says greater than or less than 9 or 100 or, you know, those specifics of coliform forming units doesn't get released. Nobody gets that for 2 weeks. We all get that at the same time.
okay.
But ocbeachinfo.com will have the green, yellow, or red light the day after a site is sampled. So Heal the Bay, their smiley and sad faces are based on the red, yellow, and green light. And the Marine Tower site is their predictive model.
Okay, okay. That makes sense.
Well, first of all, not to confuse anybody. So the Marine Tower is the clock tower, correct?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's the Marine Safety Center / clock tower. Yep.
All right, okay.
450 feet north. When you look at your bacteria report, it'll say 450 feet north of the pier. That's the
Right.
site. Okay.
Well, let's get back to that, Gary's point about the RFP. Can we be comfortable knowing that the task then would be incorporating what we have on our approved work plan in addition to what else you're asking for here in our, you're adding this task to a request for proposal for consultant assistance to track the data at the clock tower.
Yeah,
Right.
I've added include the CAC work plan language in the RFP. I've got that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, and you would be accountable for that. Is everybody okay with that language and we can approve these 2 steps for Heal the Bay? Can I have a vote on this, please? Joe?
Yes.
Doreen?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So we pass 4-0. Remember again, I remind you with every one of these, it's a living document. So it doesn't have to be in cement forever. If we have things to add or take out or modify or even a new item, we can do that throughout this period, as long as it relates to our goals. All right, let's move on to San Clemente Beautiful. These are the very basic steps, and I think they make sense. Does anybody have a comment to make about them? Remember, we did San Clemente Beautiful. The first run is only really going to be cleanups in internal San Clemente, not beach related. Those are separate, but for other sites within the city. It could be on streets, you know, it could be on main streets. It could be on residential areas. It could be on streets where there's strip malls or shopping centers or anything like that, or places that are a little more countrified, if you will, where people are playing games or leaving trash or anything like that. So Would you look at these items? There's 6 of them, and if you agree with them, we can move them along. If you have suggestions, I'm willing to take them right now, please.
I agree.
Thank you, Gary. I think I read your lips. Did you say I agree, Joe?
I do, yes.
Thank you.
Susan.
Doreen?
No,
Yes?
yes,
Okay, and I'm a yes. So Cynthia, that's a 4-0 on the San Clemente Beautiful.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the local coastal program implementation plan. And this is very clear. The city council or the representatives that went to the California Coastal Commission pulled our plan, the LUP, before it could be decided on, because they felt that the commissioners were not going to approve the LUP as written. And so they are sitting on it, and they are making a proposal on, I believe, the coastal resiliency plan, and they may have an overlap of the LUP. I was told by Cecilia Gallardo Daly in January. They're looking at January to do that, and it may end up being in February, depending on the council and when they're seated, et cetera. So this is really all we can do with this right now. In our work plan, we have items, let me switch over to that page, that we would continue to be sure that what was promised is delivered in terms of the, here I can read it to you. They ensure the local coastal program implementation plan elements, including the sea level rise vulnerability assessment study and the coastal resiliency plan, are protective of coastal resources. And the goals are provide feedback, comments, and recommendations, planning staff and consultants on draft documents during CAC meetings, follow up on success of coastal programs, that's important. And the deliverables, of course, is to provide recommendations to city staff, consultants, and city council. So that was what it was approved by the city council. We can still keep those, but we really can't modify or change any of that until we find out further direction from the city council in their response from staff report and recommendations when they go in January or February. So my recommendation is to hold on to our plan that's been approved, but right now for action, we are in the waiting mode. So my suggestion is we can either put in these things that are on for action in here, but the actual action, we can't take any action per se because we're in a waiting mood, because right now it's a non-item. So since this is a living document, my recommendation is to accept Cynthia's language as is on this draft until we know more. And then she can bring it back at our next meeting or our February meeting, January, February meeting, whenever this is discussed, so we can fill in the blanks. Or just use the one that was approved by the city.
yeah, I'm okay with it as is.
With Cynthia's statement.
Yes,
Okay, Joe?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, Gary?
Yes.
And that's a yes for me too. 4-0. Thank you, everybody. We're moving along here. The installation of bottle refill stations. Okay. Well, these are things that we've already started to do, and research different types of stations and associated purchases costs and what is that, operation and maintenance costs?
Yes.
Okay. Provide cost information at a future CAC meeting, January, February. CAC members to seek out donations once a product is selected and costs are finalized, and select a site. Now, the only comment I have on that, which is agreeable to me, not the only comment, but these recommendations, is that I thought we selected a site. I thought we selected T Street because it had, we thought that T Street had the most people attending, and because the pier already has one installed by Pier Pride, a Pier Pride donation.
I thought so
So
too.
the next most populated beach in San Clemente is T Street. T Street also has an outdoor building that conceivably we might be able to use as a source to attach a water refill station, which would be less expensive, I believe, than a standalone. But that's to be looked at by Randy Little and Cynthia and whoever else is involved in that assessment. So are we in agreement on T Street? Does anybody else but me recall that we agreed on T Street?
I recall that, Susan.
Thank you, Jerry. So that's my
fine.
motion right now that we've already picked the site will be T Street. Instead of select a site, let's just indicate that we've selected a site, which is T Street.
Well, I'll have to
Gary?
double check that that's a good site. I haven't even checked with maintenance staff. I mean, we didn't even have the work plan approved, so I need to check with Randy Little that that's even doable, so,
Well, right now, that's what we prefer is T
Okay.
Street. And
okay.
you're going to do the research on these machines and costs and all those things at any rate, right?
Yes,
So I would imagine in doing that, we will understand whether that's a viable place.
correct.
Okay. So with that, let me read you what we wrote in ours. Identify nonprofit organizations and private parties to assist in promoting the reduction of single-use plastic bottles. Oh yeah, that's really important. And funding one bottle refill station. In fact, I emphasized that to the city council when I brought up this, when we had questions on the refill station. That it was a good way. So I'd like that included in here. Something to do with the reducing the use of plastic bottles. It's part of what we want to do, right? That's why we're putting this in. So does anybody have some language to insert there?
I mean, that's a goal. I mean, that's the goal of the overall project, but that's.
Well, it's a
not-
result of the
That's not a
project. That's what you're
step
saying.
to get the actual bottle refill station installed, so, or the sponsorship. I mean, the sponsorship, that's where you could, approach them, say, that's the goal, is to reduce the single-use water bottles, but that's not a step to actually get it funded and installed.
Well, why don't we insert CAC members to seek out donations, emphasizing the reduction of plastic bottles on the beach.
That's in your work plan. That's your goal in the work plan.
Yes, but when we're seeking out donations, we're telling them why, and that would be a factor because that was in our work plan, which was approved by the city council. It was a two-prong effort. Any comments from my colleagues here? I'm open to opinions either way. Does anybody see the need, as I do, to add plastic bottles in this language, or no?
I mean, I kind of think it's assumed, but,
I think it's assumed.
Well, it is assumed, but assume,
This is an internal working document. I mean,
Yeah,
when you go to seek out a donation, you'll probably put that in the letter, of course, that's the goal of the project.
well, that's true.
right. I mean, I think unless we had a specific educational component that we were seeking, we would want to put that language in, but because we're just seeking to install the station as part of our, a plastics reduction initiative by the city, that it's sort of implied because that's our action. The action we're taking is putting a station. We're not putting together, any sort of educational component. I mean, we could add that in if we want to, like say, we're going to develop something for our website that talks about our plastic reduction initiative. And we put that part of that is installing the station. So we could do something like that, but that would be additional work and a separate educational component.
No, I think that's a good idea though, Doreen. Jot that down for future. That is something we could add to this once we decide where the station is going to go and if we can do this feasibly.
I mean, and that's, I mean, we could even do, once the station's installed, we could do something simple like a press release or something, you know, making sure that it's advertised like, hey, look what the city did. We partnered with this organization and we have this new station and it's going to help reduce plastics. single-use
Well, even
plastic.
more than that, we can use throw out some information from other cities who have done this, and they've measured, even our schools have measured how many plastic bottles have been turned in and recycled as a result of the as a result of the refill station. So I know that's already been done at Marblehead, for example. But okay, then what I'm hearing is that we are all okay with what we have right here, that I read to you, except for the site. We're going to identify T Street.
And I mean, we've given up any type of path of exploring any type of city funding for this action. It's got to be a private donation. Is that?
No,
what
we
we're-
haven't given up, but we're going to start with trying to find a private donation. We thought that was more palatable to city council at this time.
Okay.
And I think if we can get a predominant private party, could be a bunch of people. We might do some kind of fundraising thing to do that, if we can't just get one or two people to chip in. I'm thinking of going to certain companies and promoting this with them. I'm thinking very positively about this. I think a lot of people would want to be involved.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I also think, I mean, we're a pretty modern city. I think this is the amenities that cities are providing. But I'm with you. If we can get somebody to donate it, I think that's great. You know,
Yes.
awesome.
Okay. All right. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Okay. So the only change, Cynthia, is we selected T Street.
Yeah, I have on there, select a site, T Street is CAC preferred site.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. All right. How are we doing with time?
It's 7:40.
Ooh. Okay. Let's look at the Clean Ocean Fee Education and Community Awareness Project. Page 2. So continue education outreach of Clean Ocean Program. Once a fee is approved by City Council, begin outreach to public. Cost analysis expected in January, February 2021. Review current Clean Ocean Program consultant outreach plan. Yes. Well, these are not in priority order. Review outreach programs of other cities with dedicated stormwater fees. Yes. Review local nonprofit organization outreach and marketing plans who do this kind of outreach on Clean Ocean or Clean Ocean programs or anything related to stormwater issues. But I think I would like to put review right up at the top, or at least second, because I think we need to know what the current plan is. We currently have a consultant hired, by the way, for Clean Ocean. Cynthia, do you want to fill everybody in?
Yeah, there's 3 consultants.
May I add just a second? Could you just do it in 3 minutes? I'm
Sure.
going to be trying to get some efficiency here in our words.
Okay. There's 3 consultants for the project. One is marketing and outreach. The second one is to do a fee analysis based on proposed program costs and capital improvement costs. And then the third consultant is doing the balloting.
Okay. So, based on what Cynthia just said, I still, just because it's dissonant to me in this order, I think that review the Clean Ocean Program Consultant Outreach Program, which is going on right now, should be at the top.
I'll email that to you tonight.
And to all of us then, please.
Yes.
Thank you. And then the rest can go, unless anybody else has any other changes to this or wants to add something. Let me read you what we wrote before real quickly.
Well, the bottom two are not funded, just to let you know. Those are items that you added, Susan.
Oh, that's right.
I don't have capacity to review outreach programs of other cities with dedicated stormwater fees, and I don't have capacity to review local nonprofit organizations' outreach and marketing plans.
Well, you don't have funding for it, but it is part of things that you might do to assist coastal advisory. But again, we're not here to assess money. That's the job of the city council. We're here to recommend to the city council what needs to be done to best serve the city. So,
Okay. I don't have the capacity to do those two items though.
okay.
And I don't have those tasks in the consultant's tasks to do either.
Well, you do have an intern now. Could that person be helpful in helping?
Intern is very busy.
We're all very busy, Cynthia.
Yes, you should see.
Well,
her.
at any rate, I'm just going to
Not on
go
the
with,
radar for the intern to do until you brought them up today. So
okay, well, duly noted. I'm not negating those. I think these are important to know what other cities are doing, because if they're doing something that we can use, why reinvent the wheel? If they've got ideas, why reinvent the wheel? At any rate, what we put here before on our talking points: create community awareness and education about the Clean Ocean Program and associated fee, review renewal fee allocation and proposed fee, assist in development and implementation of education outreach program. One of the things that I said to Cynthia is, I don't, she's got a statement here. Once a proposed fee is approved by the city council, begin outreach to public. I think we should continue positive outreach right now, like we are with the ads in the SC Times about how many visits were done to inspect some property, or how many storm drains were maintained, or whatever all of those are. I think those are positive things that we're telling the public about where their clean ocean fee money goes. I think the more positives that we can make the public aware of, the better we are when we introduce the fact that there's going to be a fee starting again. We'd like to have that started again so we can continue all these good things. Any thoughts about that? Right now we have a consultant doing that. So we want to continue that kind of effort.
that's what the consultant has recommended.
I think that's what the consultant will do.
Right now, yes. Oh, which one, what recommended? That you don't start till after the fee? Or my comments that you continue with the positive, use that consultant right now that you're already paying for? I'm asking you, Cynthia.
Yeah, the consultant, the marketing consultant had recommended, that's their outreach plan, is to promote the positives for the programs, to get the public more aware about the Clean Ocean Program. And then
Okay,
once
great.
the fee is established, once we get the fee, which will probably be early next year, then we start marketing what that proposed fee would be, sharing that with the public what it would be.
Oh, well, I thought this meant, the way this is written, I thought this meant begin outreach to public. Once the proposed fee is approved by the city council, begin outreach to public. I thought that was a continuation of continue education outreach of Clean Ocean Program. So those two clashed with me. Either we're continuing the outreach, or we're beginning it in your second sentence, or we're beginning it after the fee is approved. So we're beginning a new facet of the public outreach then. That would include
you can
information
think that
about the
once
fee.
a proposed fee is approved by city council, I can change that to say include in the outreach plan, include the fee in the outreach plan.
Yes, and that would be, time sensitive too. I would say,
Include proposed cost in outreach materials.
well, that's okay. Let's do that. Because every piece of educational awareness shouldn't have the money attached.
Yeah, in the past, we had like a frequently asked questions
Yeah,
document. And in there was the table that had the previous fee and then the new proposed fee. So we'd probably develop something similar to that.
okay, all right. All right, so you added that change?
Yes.
Anybody have any other comments on the Clean Ocean Fee education? We just changed the location of one item. We moved the review current plan up to the top, which Cynthia is going to send us to us. So we all know what it is and what's being done and what's not thus far. And then we added the outreach. Would you read that sentence, please, Cynthia, to us? Once a
proposed fee is approved by city council, include proposed cost and outreach materials.
yeah, okay. We don't have to say select outreach materials because we don't need to do that. Okay, I'm okay with that. Anybody else have a comment or are we ready to take a vote? No comments? All right, Gary,
I'm in favor.
Joe,
Yes, it's good. Thank you.
Doreen?
Yep, that sounds great.
I'm good too with changes 4-0. Thank you very much. Let's go to community outreach sponsor drive-in movie night. Assess costs for movie viewing fees, coordinate with Parks Rec and outlets to select a date or dates for movie night so there's no conflict. We should put the reason why we're consulting with them.
Okay.
CAC to approve selected movies, January 2021. Well, we already approved the Lorax and the B because that is in our comments even here. Talking points. It's not on our plan. It's not specified. Actually, it's not in here either. I don't know where I saw it then. I just saw it this evening when I went through my stuff. But at any rate, that may change based on cost, Cynthia tells me, since those are Disney films and those might be more expensive. Our goal is to have so selected movies would be environmentally oriented. So can we add those words in there to approve environmentally or selected environmentally oriented movies?
Sure.
Okay. Any objection to adding that in there? I hear none. So would you add that in after selected, please, Cynthia?
Sure. Got it.
CAC to approve short introductory documentary featuring environmental, or we could put clean ocean, clean water, or just environmental. Let's say clean ocean. Or it's up to you. Anybody on the group have a choice of clean ocean projects? I'm thinking of the small little bits that they have. Sometimes they're only 10 minutes long, sometimes 15, sometimes even shorter. On PBS, they have all these things that are happening in schools or with foundations or things like that, where they get children involved and families involved and businesses involved. It's a possibility. It's a great motivational possibility thing. Any comment about that? No, okay, well then I'm gonna put, one is environmental and to CAC to approve short introductory documentaries featuring environmental or clean ocean activity.
Sounds good. I think that's
Okay.
fine.
Environmental or clean ocean activities, okay. Cynthia, would you read that sentence, please?
Act to approve short introductory documentary featuring environmental or clean ocean activities.
Thank you. Would you read the sentence before, please?
CAC to approve selected environmentally oriented movies. I don't know if we need selected.
Well, we're selecting them.
Okay.
All right. And then market movie night. Okay, I'm good with that. Anybody have any other comments or can I take a vote now? I hear no comments. Gary,
I'm good.
Joe,
Good, thank you.
Doreen,
Yep, sounds great.
and me, 4-0. Thank you very much. Let's go on to Cynthia, will you buzz me when it's 8 o'clock?
Okay, I'll let you know.
We have a big agenda to get to and I want to speed this along. Sustainability grants. Utilize multimedia approach to promote to increase applications, review and approve grant applications. Next review is scheduled for January, February 2021. Assist and mentor grant recipients with grant educational components as requested and appropriate. For example, watershed experience education, internal and external information resources. Require applicants to file a written report on their project and encourage them to present to CAC and City Council as appropriate. The only comment I have on this is the next review is scheduled for January, February, but right now, and this is still December, and you had a due date of mid-December, correct? So this is a live action thing right now. Did you have any applicants for the grant application effort this time? You put it in the paper in November.
I haven't received any applications yet for the
And
December.
the deadline is December
15th.
15th.
We did not receive any in June, which was the first cycle for this fiscal year.
Right.
So we have $12,000 available for this fiscal year, for this round.
Does that roll over? So does that double next year?
No,
We lose it. Okay.
correct.
So let's make a comment in here about the fact that we have one approaching. We are awaiting applicants for December review. Because that's true. Would you add that in there, please? I'm talking to you, Cynthia.
Oh, you want, is that a step to get the grants done? Just to wait for them?
Well, no, we have a live grant process right now. So
Yeah.
we are in the process of entertaining or accepting grant applications right now.
Yes.
You have
Good.
next review is for January, February. We have one right now.
Right?
So I want you to include that we have.
Susan?
Yes?
Oh, I was gonna say, if we don't get applicants, is there a possibility that we could use the funds or partner with someone for the bottle refill station? Or is that,
Oh,
would
that's
that-
a great question. Cynthia, what do you think?
I think that would be either a city manager or city council request, since the policy is to use the money to fund nonprofit organizations, so, or schools.
I think we should explore that. Let's put that in our plan right here.
Let's
Doreen?
wait. I recommend we wait to see if we get applications, because if we get $12,000 in applications, then it's a moot point.
Well, we're doing this now. This is a living document. So we might as well include this now and we can cross it off if we have applicants that use the money.
Or you could add it in later if the funding doesn't come in, because it's a living document.
We could say if there are no applicants for December for 2020, we will ask for grant money to be used for the installation of a bottle station. That's my motion. I'm grinning.
I don't
I
know
think-
if it needs to be in there, or, I mean, to me, I think we could add it in if we don't get any applicants. I mean, that's just something we can have in the back of our minds, is something we could request after, but
I just don't want us to forget about it. So Doreen, you want to make a note to self? And I will too.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I can, I mean, I can do that.
Okay, note to self. I think that was a brilliant idea.
And who's not to say, I mean, that could also be a project. So if a nonprofit knows that there's funds available, maybe they would, on their own want to apply for funds for a water refill station. So,
I agree. So if you know any nonprofits that might be interested in this, let them know.
Yeah, and
There's an ad in the paper.
yeah, your packet, the flyer and the grant policy are embedded in your packet, but I can send that to you separate if you want to share with potential applicants. Would you like me to do that?
I would, yes, to all of us, please. Thank you.
Okay, you got it.
And I appreciate you including that. I had asked you to do that so everybody knows and sees the application and all that kind of stuff. That's great. All righty. No other comments on this other than Jareen's excellent suggestion. Let's go ahead and do a vote. Gary, Joe,
Yes.
Jareen,
yep.
and I'm a yes. 4-0. All righty. Last one. Poche Beach bacteria source identification. Staff to communicate with CAC members as current studies move forward when new studies are proposed. It's very vague. Determine need for a technical stakeholder advisory committee. Yes. Review study results and provide feedback and recommendations to City Council as appropriate. Yes, if we get to study. Implement and identify, and should be in there, Cynthia. BMPs as appropriate.
Okay.
So, I'm concerned about that first statement. Staff to communicate with as current studies move forward when new studies are proposed. What did we have on Poche? We had a lot on Poche at one point. Develop and assess studies and abate bacteria sources that are causing bacteria water quality exceedances at the Poche Beach Monitoring Station. That's very direct. Provide input on work plans to identify bacteria sources, monitor study progress and results, and review appropriate and effective strategies to eliminate sources. I think those are right on. Why don't we add those in there? Rather than the comment, staff to communicate with city CAC members as current studies move forward and when new studies are approved. Well, we could still keep that one in there, even though it's somewhat vague to me. But I think we should add the other two that we included before. Any comments on that? Any agreements?
Well, my kind of comment again is that I think when you put this with this, add it to what our action steps are, I think they complement each other.
Run
So
that
that-
by me again, please, Gary.
These are not two separate items. This says Coastal Advisory Committee 2020-21 Work Plan Action Steps about the Poche Beach source identification, which is this. So I think we don't really need to repeat them in the action steps because these action steps are part of the project.
Well, we haven't defined the project yet in
Right
Poche Beach.
Project name, purpose, goals, deliverables,
Oh, you're looking at this.
right? So I don't think in this document, because this is the work plan action steps, that we need to repeat what we've already mentioned prior. These are the action steps for that project,
I see what you're saying.
because they're not separate, they're complementary.
They are complementary. Yes, I see that.
I don't think there's any need to sort of repeat.
Well, Cynthia, there's some work going on right now with a consultant. Is that correct?
No, there's not a consultant, but the Orange County Public Works is doing some water quality data collection. They're collecting samples. So it's not really a study. They selected like 3 different areas in Orange County, and Poche Beach was, or a sub-watershed in Poche in the Prima de Cecca Cañada watershed was selected. We do have money in the Clean Ocean Program budget for a non-stormwater reduction study, which is basically going out to look for irrigation runoff and to stop the irrigation runoff. But that is one of the tasks that I will put in the request for proposal for the technical support services. So that's not ongoing right now.
Okay. Well, the need for a technical stakeholder advisory committee. We don't have anything in here, do we, about hiring a consultant? Oh, yeah, we did. No, we have. We have 100,000 in this project cost that was approved by the city council.
$50,000 is part of the cost share for Orange County to go to do the sampling that I just mentioned, and $50,000 is for the non-stormwater runoff reduction study.
And when is that study going to happen? The stormwater?
Probably wouldn't start till March or April, because usually it's a dry weather study. You almost have to wait till it stops raining, but once we get a consultant hired on, which will probably be about February of next year, then they can start with some information, with some tasks, but really you have to wait till it stops raining to really get that non-stormwater reduction study started. So you're not mixing rainwater runoff that can be feeding the watershed for a while versus when it's totally dry weather.
Okay. Is that clear to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have in here anywhere that we are approving or looking for a consultant, an additional one. Do we need to do that? Jareen, what do you think? Cynthia's talking about a consultant that she's preparing an RFP for.
Well, I think if it's something that's going to be done, if that's a certain action item, then yeah, I think we could add it in there because
I think so too. So Cynthia, do you want to come up with the language, or Jareen, one of you?
Well, I can put in their contract with consultant to implement a non-stormwater runoff reduction study.
yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, I think that's good too.
Okay.
Did everybody hear that? Bless you.
Bless you.
Thanks.
Cynthia, would you repeat that, please?
Contract with consultant to implement a non-stormwater runoff reduction study.
Okay.
Because it's not just irrigation runoff. Sometimes we find people hosing down things they're not supposed to be, hosing down their driveways, that type of thing. So, but usually the main focus is irrigation runoff.
There was one on the enforcement report about rainbow sandals washing their trees. What are we talking about there? Why are they hosing off the trees? I don't get it. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I think they were power washing a building, and they just
I
added on the trees as well.
I
So
see.
it's probably what they said to the enforcement officer, but
I see.
You know, on that study, should we add for why we're doing that? Is it to identify bacteria on the
yeah,
stormwater?
that's what the project title is.
I know that.
Identification.
I know that's a project title. It just sounds like we're not really being clear on that to the average reader.
Well, really the non-stormwater reduction study is to stop the non-stormwater that is a transport mechanism for pollutants, including bacteria. Now the county, they are actually doing bacteria source tracking. That's the other $50,000 that they are doing. They're looking for different branches in the watershed, and they're taking samples and looking to see if there's high bacteria levels coming out of this storm drain system branch. And if not, then we just keep moving upstream. But if there is, then we have to do additional studies, additional analysis upstream of there.
Okay.
And when they're I'll find out when they're gonna have a report, because they really just started the water quality sampling in August.
Okay. Yeah, please
So,
do.
Yeah, I'll find out if there's a point in time when the data is going to be analyzed and available to the public, and either they could present. Rita Abelar, who is on the stakeholder advisory committee for the pier, is
Right.
directly involved with this particular study that the county has is
Okay.
doing. So I can see when they can present some information. It might be the springtime of next year, but I think it'd be important.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
take care.
anything very timely would be helpful. Would
Yeah.
you read the new sentence then, please? So I can call for a vote.
Contract with consultant to implement a non-stormwater runoff reduction study.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other comments? Then let's do a vote, Joe. I'm sorry, Gary?
Aye.
Joe, are you with us?
Yes, good to go.
Okay, Doreen?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm a yes. 4-0 with the amendment. This is our amended draft. And Cynthia will get back to us on this and bring it to us at our next meeting. Cynthia?
Yeah, I can email it out today, or, along with the other items on my list.
Yeah, okay. But be sure you bring it to our next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you for all of your support and action on this. I'm going to move this back here. Let's go on to my agenda here. And bear with me. We are moving on to hold on. We're moving on to communications, bacteriological monitoring report.
Susan,
Did I miss something?
yeah, there's 6B, which is the Environmental Sustainability Grant Program, but we already kind of just discussed that.
Oh, thank you. I see where I missed that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
And it was really just a verbal update. So we mentioned it that we didn't have any applications in June 2012 or June of this year, 2020. So we have $12,000 available, and I'll make sure to send the flyer and the policy out to all the CAC members. If they know of any groups that may possibly be interested, you can share that with them. So they have 1 month to submit an application, about 1 month. Okay,
Yes. Okay. Yes, thank you very much
you're welcome.
for catching that. Alrighty, that said, let's move on to communications, bacteriological monitoring reports, August, September, and October. Cynthia, do you want to make any comments on any highlights? Or does anybody else want to make any comments on some highlights? On the bacteria studies?
If nobody
No.
else has comments, unfortunately, Pochi's been posted for a while.
Yes.
You'll see Pochi is exceeding, and sometimes it doesn't exceed, but it's the geomean, which is where they take five subsequent samples. If one of them exceeds, then it keeps getting on the advisory, because you'll see it's not posted every single time, but then all of a sudden it gets posted. So unfortunately, that advisory continues. Pure Zero, You'll see in August, there was an exceedance, but otherwise, I think once a month we've had an exceedance. And that's significant. Oh, September, we didn't have an exceedance at the Pier Zero. So let me see, in October, we didn't have an exceedance in October either. We did just have an exceedance in November though. But so for 2 months, we didn't have an exceedance at Pier Zero, which is really good because otherwise it's last summer, it was pretty much posted almost every time they took a sample. So that's a good sign.
It'd be interesting to see what if there was anything after the big storm.
So today is Thursday. Let me see if they went out Tuesday. I don't think they sampled on Tuesday. I think that was, they usually wait 72 hours
Okay.
to sample. So after a rain event, so they might have gone out today.
Okay, because there was an article in the paper about Doheny and surfers and swimmers to be very careful about being out in the water. They called it after the first flush, after everything comes out.
Yeah, that's
So,
standard. It's standard to let
yeah.
recreators know to not enter. They advise not to enter 72
Yeah, I
hours.
thought it was a well-written forecast there. Good idea.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's why I was wondering if you had heard anything on our beaches.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Any other comments about that? Nothing. Let's move along to environmental programs. Cynthia, why don't you tell us about 1 or 2 items that you think are important for us to know? For example, you had a meeting with the Orange County Stormwater Technical Advisory Committee.
Orange County Technical Advisory Committee, they discuss the solid waste and solid waste issues,
Okay.
litter and that type of thing. And that one focused on Caltrans and coordinating with Caltrans. We are required, and Caltrans is required to communicate with the stormwater co-permittees to implement some trash capture devices that may drain Caltrans areas. They presented, they have not selected, Caltrans goes out and they assess their catch basins and how much debris is in there. And San Clemente wasn't selected as a priority area for them. I mean, they can't do everything everywhere as well due to funding limitations. So I think they're looking at different areas north of here, north of San Clemente. So,
Okay.
yeah. And then there is also sometimes the nonprofit groups join in, like Sierra Club. And I don't know if you know Hoyen Ip. She's
Yes.
pretty vocal. But, you know, we talk about different initiatives to reducing use of single-use straws and single-use plastic items, that type of thing. So they give feedback on those types of things.
Okay. And what about the H2O for HOAs workshop? Did you participate in that? It says.
Yeah, so that particular group is focused on educating and encouraging homeowners associations to implement landscape practices that prevent irrigation runoff, that also use drought tolerant landscape plants, and as well as fire prevention. So there were speakers from the 3 different categories talking about ways that HOAs could implement different things regarding those particular topics. So obviously that's usually been in person, but we actually had pretty good turnout because it was a virtual type event, and there was 150.
Oh,
think-
that's great. Remember, committee members, we discussed this before about getting the message out to HOAs about overwatering and things of that nature. So this is very good that this is going on, especially
Yeah.
with an audience of 150. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and that's an annual meeting. an annual workshop.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
Mhm.
Any other questions on environmental programs for Cynthia? No? Okay, let us move on to reports, and I'm going to start that right now. Hold on a second.
And while you're looking there, our October Clean Ocean Program update did not have the water quality code compliance and water quality inspections data in there. So I'll bring that back to the next meeting.
Thank you, Cynthia.
I'll complete that one for October. We just didn't have.
I was going to ask you about that, but
Yeah.
waited for you to bring it up. All righty. I am looking at, I'm going to make these as short as I can. I chose these items to give you some information about because I thought you would find them interesting in some fashion because they relate a lot to what we're doing, and some are a little more frivolous and fun than others. But the first one, Governor Newsom's executive order on biodiversity, climate change, and climate resilience, that was done on October 7th, where he signed an executive order to conserve using all of our nature-based facilities, if you will, land uses or land formations or land, water, forests, farms, any kind of things like that that make up our ecosystems. And to come up to challenge the agencies in California to come up with nature-based solutions to resolve the problem of there's a long order here, 7 pages is the order of climate change and climate warming and the carbon footprint, all of these very important items. And included the principals in this committee will be operating under this executive order are the California Natural Resources Board, the California Department of Food and Agriculture, the California Secretary for Environmental Protection, and the Office of Planning and Research. Now, these are all going to get together and work with a new committee that he's creating called the California Biodiversity Collaborative. And that's going to include all kinds of people from all walks of life who are experts in science, in farming, in land use, in forestry, in clean water, and in conservation and preservation. And there's part of what they have to do is create a biodiversity council, which I think has already been created. And let me get my notes here that I highlighted. Hold on. And the California Environmental Protection Agency, I forgot to include in that core group that will be planning and getting together with all of these people. I think it's a wonderful idea. You can go to the California Biodiversity Collaborative and look more into this to find more detail about what components of the collaborative will be doing what. And it's just a wonderful program. The goal here is to conserve, to be sure the governor is, let me see this fine print here, is pledging to conserve 30% of land and coastal water by 2030, joining 38 other countries to commitment to conservation. So that's a pretty good number and something to work for, especially when you have all these agencies working together for a similar goal. If you want any information, further information about this, I suggest that you look up the Ocean Protection Council, or you can also just directly go to the governor's office and ask for the order to conserve biodiversity. And I do have a copy of the order, so if you want one of that, I can send this to Cynthia. And Cynthia, would you mind emailing it to anybody if anybody was interested in the entire order? So if you are, let Cynthia know. Otherwise, I will not send that forward unless you want it. And make less paper for Cynthia. Alrighty, let me move on to the next item. Speaking of the Ocean Protection Council. Let's see, where did I have that book? They put out some of the chief agencies that are working with biodiversity and conservation and preservation are all developing strategic plans due to climate change. And it's to find resolutions and solutions that everybody can use in different areas of California. California is a good example for a state because we have the coastal on the southern end, we have the central where farming is taking place, and then we have the mountains with forestry. So they have put together their strategic plan for 2025. It looks like this, and you can also get this on the Ocean Protection Council website. Can you all see this? I see Gary stepped away, but if
Yeah, thank you, Susan.
you're welcome. And it's an interesting read. And some of these things, because of COVID, I'm sure have not been accomplished that they had scheduled for 2020, but they will be carried on. But it's a good explanation of what the plans are and incorporating this with the new collaborative that's being created. We're all working on the same page in California, and that's the good news. All righty, let me go on to the next one, which is the Clean Ocean Microplastic Webinar Series. This is a series also co-sponsored. Hold on. Let me turn to that just a second. Co-sponsored by the Ocean Protection Council as well as the, I knew it. The State Water Resources Control Board. And this is a series on microplastic effects on human and ecological health. Now this series, it's a 5 or 6 Monday series where it started in October. However, there still is a session available on November 16th. It's on a Monday from 8 to 10 in the morning. I have the website right here that if you're interested, I can email this to you tonight, Cynthia. So if anybody's interested, you could let Cynthia know and she could give you the direct link. Or again, you can go to the Ocean Protection Council to find it. But if you use this direct link, it will give you registration information and information on the webinar series. And you may be able to review the ones that you missed. So that one, the last one is happening. It's a 2-hour program on Monday, November 16th. Any questions on that? Cynthia, do you have a Dark Friday tomorrow?
Yes.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, is anybody right here? Do you know if you're interested or not? Otherwise, I can send this tonight to Cynthia and she can send you. Would you mind, Cynthia, if I sent this to you with the website on it down here? It's a direct website. So if anybody, the link to go to the session, does anybody know right now if you'd be going to the session on Monday?
Susan, I'm interested in the topic, so I'd like to get the information.
Okay, great. So I will send this out tonight, so you'll have it before Monday. Anybody else? Okay. So Cynthia, I'll get this to you just in case somebody wants to see to review some of these, okay? Pardon me?
Okay, no problem.
Okay, great. I'm going to leave this out so I don't forget to do that. Okay. And the next thing I wanted to remind you about is the King Tides are coming again Sunday, the 15th and the 16th. And what's different about this one is the state is really asking for photographs to be taken, that to be downloaded so the state can use these as a precursor to sea level rise. And they identify areas on the map which will show where most erosion has taken place or any destruction or any moving away from the sand or any kind of buildings or things of that nature, roadways, transportation, mediums like the railroad tracks or even roads that are being impacted by the king tides, which would also be similar to a precursor to all of us for sea level rise, an experience of sea level rise, which we are all experiencing right now. You've all seen the pictures and the documentaries about islands and coastlines, especially in the tropical areas, that literally get completely flooded. We have that city down at the border. What is it called? Is that called Imperial City? What is that city called down at the border?
Imperial Beach.
Thank you. Yes. That completely gets flooded every year. They board up their town every year because of flooding, because of sea level rise. You can see, I went to that resiliency conference and I sent all of you the videos. You could look at all the videos of it. And he did a great presentation on it. Literally, you could see just hoods of cars over the water. It was pretty amazing. And that's in California. Well, Joe, you're probably very familiar with that city, aren't you?
I have been to Imperial Beach a few times, yes.
Yes, yes. And with the river down there, et cetera, that terribly polluted Tijuana River. Yes, okay. Well, anyway, so I urge you to get involved with the King Tides or tell your friends about it, send the notice out. And also one of the great things about it is they're looking for people to do videos, a climate change video. And that should be on the handout you have. It's not on my black and white copy here. Oh, yes, it is. The Climate Video Challenge. And you have till March to complete that. But they're suggesting that middle and high school students may want to use the King Tides images and concepts as they enter the Climate Video Challenge. Now, wouldn't that be fun? Jareen?
Yeah, no, I think that's good. My son's in a TV production class, so I'm going to mention that to him.
Wonderful. So you can go right to that website. They'll tell you all about it.
Thank you.
You are welcome. And the next thing I have, oh, that's another one from Cal. You can just look up the King Tides at coastal.ca.gov or the King Tides, the California King Tides Project. Either one of those. And those are on your list that are noted here. The next one that's really fun is the California K-12 students, parents, and teachers. Gary, I'm looking at you and with your grandson. And Jareen, you too. But the Coastal Art and Joe, you too. The Coastal Art and Poetry Contest. You've got this wonderful, colorful handout that Cynthia copied at my request to see how wonderfully creative people can be about this art contest. And then you've got a good deadline on there as well, January 31st. So you can actually go to the website there that's offered. You can get all the details. You can download the flyers and you can get teacher resources at www.coastal.ca.gov/art-poetry. So there's our educational outreach for today in terms of fun and right brain activity. Don't say we work you to death with science and technology. All right, the next thing is the report that I sent out to everybody about California receiving the only A in the country for coastal protection that we've taken. And this was done by the Surfrider State of the Beach report. Surfrider has done this, I think, for the past, maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe a bit longer. They go around and they evaluate all of the states. And in this report, California was the only one that got an A grade. And their score out of 12 was an 11. We were marked down 1 just because of our armory, our armorizing stuff that we do. And that means the walls or the rock revetments or things of that nature. And sometimes they're saying in California, the Coastal Commission is giving permits to people to put up temporary walls that where there's been a storm and the sand has been washed away. But frequently those walls are left there because the sand is washed away. And so the property needs to be protected. So it's kind of an unhelpful thing to do, except you're protecting the property. The key issues that they're looking at, of course, are, let me look at them for you so I get them correctly. I have volumes of notes here. Of sediment management, coastal armoring, development, and sea level rise. And those were critical. And we got high applause from Surfrider for what we've done. 31 of the states in the nation who had coastal borders got B's or C's. I mean, C's or D's in managing their coastal issues. And they found that states that have a coastline that is in the way or in the path of tornadoes or hurricanes or severe storms have less effective management processes in coastal resiliency and this kind of armoring, all of these things that I've just mentioned to you, the sediment, everything. They have less management over those programs, and consequently, they suffer more damage every time that these national things or natural crises happen. There's a very interesting paradox there. So again, you can go to Surfrider Publications, and they will give you not only the state of beach report, the 2021, which is very informative for every single state. So if you've got relatives or friends in any other states, you can advise them as well. But they also will give you all the methodology and what they looked at and how they looked at it and how they analyzed it, etc. Very informative and very timely, again, with what we're doing in our state with Governor Newsom's order and what the Ocean Protection Council is doing. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk to you about is the Beach Cleanup Annual Report, the Plastic Pollution to Policy Solutions. Of course, it features a lot of the things Surfrider is doing regarding the elimination of plastic. And it gives you, there's several pages I only copied. I wanted to show you this cover just to look at. When you go to the publications, you see what it looks like. This is the 2019, which is the most current thus far. We'll be getting a 2021 probably into the spring of next year for Beach Cleanup Annual Report for Surfrider. Again, these are great tools for us to be cognizant of, to know what a huge nonprofit like Surfrider, it's international, is doing to protect the coastlines and to advise other states and countries to do to protect their coastlines. So I think this is all essential information for all of us on our committee to know, and please feel free to share it with all of your friends and colleagues. The last thing I had on mine, Cynthia, let me see if I didn't. Bear with me. No, I think I finished there. Any questions about what I said? I hope some of these things are valuable to you and you will follow up with them. If you don't and you have questions, let me know. In the meantime, Jareen, I will get that document to Cynthia so you have the direct website.
Yeah, and Susan, it's obvious that you put a lot of effort and into this, and I really appreciate you sharing all this information because there's a lot been going on. So I appreciate it.
Oh,
Thank
you for saying that. I was hoping that you would, because it's so related. We should be feeling happy that we're on the right path. You know, Cynthia's breathing down our necks about this report or that report or stormwater or flooding or coastal resiliency. And we have all these things going on. And we ourselves are very interested and passionate about these subjects because we live here. We want clean beaches, clean oceans. And in our city that we live, our economic vitality and viability is critical to have clean oceans and clean beaches. So we should do all we can to be as informed as we can, to be vocal accurately when we're talking to members of the community or even the city council or even ideas that we may want to implement. At least it'll be educational for, I think I consider myself highly read, but now that I've discovered these things, these are next to my bedside table. So anyway, I know Cynthia's looking at me and fighting the urge to roll her eyes. Anyway, that being said, thank you very much. And I'm passing now the speaking to city staff. And Cynthia, you're going to talk about Coastal Cleanup Month, correct?
Yeah, do you want to see if any other CAC members have anything to report?
Oh, thank you for asking. Please, any other members of CAC? Jareen, Joe, Gary, do you have something that you'd like to share with us right now? Any reports? Gary's saying no. Joe?
No,
No,
Jerry?
I'm good.
No, thank
Okay.
you.
Now, Cynthia, I'm giving you the floor to talk about, please, did you keep a copy of the state report that you could give to Cynthia?
I can open up my email.
Or otherwise, I can just read the numbers to you.
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, I have right in front of me is Orange County and San Clemente. You want to start with the state or you want me?
Well, I wanted to start with the state so they can compare them. Hold on. I have it right here. Okay, the state numbers for Coastal Cleanup Month. More than 3,800 cleanups took place throughout the month of September. 13,439 volunteers participated. 131,900 pounds of trash and recycling were picked up. And here's a good one. More than 4,000 miles were traveled through the combination of all the volunteering all over the state. That's pretty cool. Let me see if there's any other data on here. Oh, yes. Let me share this with you. The top 10 trash finds this year. Of course, cigarette butts is still number 1. Food wrappers is number 2. And by the way, cigarette butts had 71,721. Food wrappers, 36,403. Plastic bottle caps. And can you imagine how hard those would be to pick up? They must put those through a sifter. 13,746. Plastic grocery bags, 9,488. Why is that happening? Metal bottle caps, 9,100. Plastic bottles, 10,692. A number we don't want to see in our state for any of these. Straws and stirrers, 7,972. Beverage cans, 7,778. Plastic takeout containers was left blank. Glass bottles, 7,006. Masks and gloves were the 12th most common item at 6,343. Wow, think about that. Masks and gloves on the beaches. Wow. Welcome to COVID. Consequences. Anyway, that is, they're saying, well, September is over. Marine debris is still ongoing and encouraging us to continue to do beach cleanups. And if you did a cleanup, they'll send you a free taco from Rubio's, or you can still get a coastal t-shirt. That's my report from the state. Any questions, or if anybody wants a copy of these numbers, I already emailed that to Cynthia. So Cynthia, you could forward them that information if anybody was interested, correct?
Yeah, I think I did that already this afternoon.
Oh, did you? Okay, yes, you did. In our packet.
Yeah.
So all of you should have it. If you don't, you can contact Cynthia because she does have it from me. All righty.
Okay, and so then the Orange County data is there was 279 people in Orange County, picked up 1,266 pounds of debris, over 45 miles traveled, and total items collected 6,248. And yes, cigarette butts were the top item, 615 of them. These numbers are really low just because of COVID, you know.
Sure.
A lot more people in participation. For San Clemente, we only had 12 people report in. Now this is all through the Clean Swell app. So there may have been other people that had gone out in groups, but if they didn't record their data through the Clean Swell app, then it didn't get recorded in numbers that were sent to you. So in San Clemente, there were 12 people. They picked up 55 pounds over half a mile and 290 items. And they had food wrappers as their top. That was 40 items and 34 cigarette butts.
Okay. Any questions or comments? So now you know what's happening in our city, in our county, and in our state with the September cleanup. By the way, I went down Del Mar with a planning commissioner, Zen Wu, and he took one side of the street and I took the other, and we passed out, probably 200 flyers that we made, in addition to what Cynthia gave us. And the people, the owners and the managers of stores, including some of the employees, were very happy we were doing this. They were very supportive of the action and just said, please start sooner. Please let us know. Most of them put in, I didn't have any posters left, so my 100 were gone. They went into store windows or on their vehicles or wherever they put them. And they put them right there up in the window when I was there. Some stores took 3 to put in if they were on a corner. They plastered them in their windows. So that was very cool. They were very excited about it and got a wonderful reception. We also went down the coastal trail and posted them. And I used sisal to tie them onto the fences, etc. So they were very natural to come off. And we went back the next day and took them down like good citizens. And we also went to very, important gathering type places like the swimming pools, some of the parks, some of the key businesses, grocery stores. We did paper a parking lot or 2 of grocery stores with them, on windshields, etc. So we were probably a good 350. We ended up passing out Cynthia and Joreen just because I just was in the spirit and I was getting asked questions from my neighbors because usually I have those big posters up and then I just had those little ones. So they were all frowning at me. So I had to go big or go home.
Thank you for doing that, Susan. I went to our school and dropped some off at the kind of the parent where people go into the front office. And then I also went to the Talegas shopping center and dropped them off at Ralph's and a couple of the restaurants. And then Pete's Coffee, for whatever reason, because of COVID, they weren't putting up any community flyers, but she took one for their back off room for their staff.
Oh, good. Good. That's great news. And by the way, I said to Zen when I recruited him, because, he sat on a coastal advisory committee, that it'd probably only take an hour to an hour and a half. Well, I was down at the end of my lane, after about 4 hours. 4.5 hours later, he shows up with this big grin on his face saying, oh, that was really fun. 4.5 hours. I mean, that was great. I mean, I said, I thought you left me. He said, what do you mean? I said, did you go home and change your clothes or something? You look different. Because I just thought for him to spend 4.5 hours out there just on one side of the street, he just got great conversations going with, all these issues that are happening in San Clemente. So it was a good thing. But thank you so much, Joreen. The schools were so appropriate and those other places, the shopping centers, so appropriate for people to see this information that doesn't always get to them. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All righty, Cynthia, on to you.
Okay, so the next item was Clean Ocean Fee renewal update. And we kind of discussed that earlier. We are waiting. We have the marketing plan and we're implementing some of that. We're waiting for the fee analysis consultant to provide us with what they recommend with a fee amount, but they still have a couple questions. We have a meeting next week with them to give them more information and answer some questions. And we do have Tom Bonnegut's going to be on there because he was historically involved with these Clean Ocean Fee renewals. So he has some institutional knowledge that'll be helpful for them. So that's where we stand on that. We probably will go before the city council in January or February to let them know the proposed fee. But we'll be coming to the Coastal Advisory Committee at some point in time regarding that, probably before going to city council. But I'll double check with Dave on that, on what the proposed fee would be.
Oh, please do. And in fact, I'd like to be sure we put that on the agenda for at least an update for you in January. Because you're having it, when is the meeting with Dave? Is that, you said next week?
Yeah, next week is just to answer questions. The consultant wants to make sure they have all the answers to their questions before they start crunching out numbers.
Okay. Well, maybe even December, briefly, you could update us as to what happened in the meeting.
This is a standing item. I'll keep you updated.
Okay, great. Any questions for Cynthia on the Clean Ocean Report?
Nope.
No? Okay. But pure bacteria source characterization study update, Cynthia, please.
Okay, so the consultant during the month of October collected samples out of the 5 different storm drains. And they are still awaiting some data. I think some data has come back, but they're waiting for the human DNA data. That goes to a different lab and it takes a little bit longer to get done, just depending on the workload from that lab. So once they get that data back and analyzed, hopefully we can see if we can move forward with the confirmatory sampling. Hopefully we don't have a human source, but that's what we're waiting to find out. So I'll keep you guys, this will be another standing item for the December meeting, okay?
And when is the date for your December meeting?
Well, I'm referring to your December 10th tax meeting.
Oh, well, I was referring to the pure bacteria, the SAC committee meeting.
I don't have a date for that. I think time is passing by pretty quickly. So we really are anxious to get that data back from the laboratories to see if we can move forward with confirmatory sampling. And that was the goal, was to get the investigative sampling done, then start on the confirmatory sampling and reach out to the SAC, have a SAC meeting, let them know the status on what's going on. So we're thinking it'll be early December. Okay.
Okay, well, you'll keep us all apprised, correct? Because I'd like to attend that meeting.
Okay. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Some of my colleagues might like to as well.
And
All
then I
right,
have another item on
yes,
this is the Orange County Transportation Authority
yes.
annually has a grant program, and it's called Project X Environmental Grants. And the city was awarded $220,000 to partially fund installation of trash capture devices in 100 catch basins.
Oh, yes, yes.
So we did get official word that we did get awarded that money.
Oh, great.
So the city has to put in a $55,000 match, and that comes out of the Clean Ocean Fund, and then $220,000 grant. So right now I'm preparing a agenda report to go to city council to hire a contractor to do that installation. So
Wonderful. That's good news.
very good news.
Great, thank you.
That has
Those feet were made for walking, hey?
yeah, the trash we have to capture it down to 5 millimeters in size.
Wow.
But, and I think the biggest concern from Public Works is the flooding, because if those devices get clogged, it could cause flooding in the street. So what that really means is we're going to have more maintenance and inspections of the catch basins to make sure before rain events that the vaults and the devices are clean so it won't cause flooding. So that's going to be really the most cost. This trash provision from the state, that's the most significant cost, is the maintenance now. Because we're probably going to have to go out to catch basins 3 times a year instead of just once a year. But it should reduce the amount of debris going into that.
Oh, I think it would too. Good, good, good news. All right. Anybody else have anything else? Okay. We will move to potential future agenda items.
Yeah, so December we have what we've already kind of discussed, the CAC annual work plan implementation. Maybe we'll bring that back.
Hold on a minute. I have to increase your volume here.
Okay. Wow, I talk pretty loud already.
Well, I had mine pretty low, so I can hear you now. Thank you.
The pure bacteria source characterization study update and the clean ocean fee renewal update. So those will be the 3 major items. Future meetings, I have not done any research on any of these items. I do believe there's the railroad impact study, a Caltrans grant. Sorry, Jareen, I have not done research on that yet. And I think this is due to sea level rise, you know, and then Ocean Protection Council strategic plan. Doreen, is that something that you want me to look at? I wasn't sure on that.
I think, didn't Susan actually show us a copy of that as part
Yeah.
of some of the things she shared tonight?
Yeah, I did. In fact, the Surfrider discovered that the San Diego tracks, the rail in San Diego must move. The state has given them notice that they must move their tracks within the next 10 years.
Oh,
Wow.
I'll have to find that document. Literally, I'm documented up to my eyeballs right now, taking over my sofas and my chair.
Yeah, and I think with the Ocean Protection Council's strategic plan, I think what we were looking for was really the intersection of state and then what we could be doing as a city to support the strategic plan. And if there was anyone at the Ocean Protection Council that would be willing to talk to us about, maybe specifically what cities can be doing to help support implementing that plan.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, Doreen, because this whole collaboration is probably going to be established to do that as well. That's going to be one of their facets of outreach, because they are involving all kinds of community members and experts, and your old stomping ground, the EPA, is an integral part of that collaborative. So I will follow up on that, as I promised to do before. They were in the state, I couldn't even get a hold of anybody. They're just in a state of flux with all these kinds of things happening in the COVID. So now that the order is in effect and, the people are moving and they've been given direction and there's cohesiveness with other groups, this is the right time to inquire as to what their availability would be. It'd be good if we could connect with another group so there'd be a bigger audience rather than just 6 people.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, maybe even if they could do that, if Ocean Protection Council we could suggest that to them, and then they could maybe invite a number of cities or all the cities to, attend. So
Yeah, I think so too. I like that idea. Okay, I will pursue that.
like a workshop of some kind, huh?
Yeah, or actually just, a workshop, or yeah, that could be. I
yeah,
don't
or
know.
just a virtual presentation. And that works too.
Oh, you know what? And they did some of those already, and I don't know that they did them to the public, but they did some for explaining. Let me look further into that, because I have all kinds of documents from different sources on this, and just filtering them together. I will come up with something and talk to you about it in December, if not sooner.
And then,
And the other thing I want to follow up on is I talked to Cecilia Gallardo Daly about the rail committee that we talked about. Remember when the sea level rise was going on and you and I talked about the rail and getting a seat at the table with OCTA and the rail?
Yes.
And well, that committee is alive and breathing, and I have the name written down. It is a railroad joint committee, a rail study committee or something like that, and / coastal resiliency. I'll look it up and email that to you and to Cynthia as well. So we should be, and 2 people have a seat at the table. Cecilia said, I said, well, we definitely wanted somebody to have a seat at the table. We said that very clearly to Miss Meyerhoff. And she said, and you got one for Miss Meyerhoff and for me. And I said, oh, that's so great. So I was excited to hear that news. So we will be, she said she would keep me posted, but I said, I don't even know how you could keep me posted. She wears so many hats for the city, but she will if I need. I told her, I asked her just for the website, and so she gave me that. So I'll keep you posted on that. If something comes up before our next meeting, though, I will definitely send something to Cynthia to send out to everybody. And especially to you, Doreen, since I know that you voiced an interest now in that again. So I'll be on top of that for us.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And that had to do with the railroad impact study too. Anyway, anything else for future agendas for Cynthia?
The only thing is I just want to make sure we kind of get maybe quarterly updates on what's going on with the federal sand replenishment project and,
Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth. Yes.
Yeah, I think Tom Vonnegut he knows that if he gets any information to share with the CAC. So I
okay,
haven't anything from him, but he definitely knows, and obviously he was involved with the CAC before. He knows to bring any information to the CAC or share it with me to the CAC. So next time I talk to him, though, I'll ask him if he's heard any movement.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
No problem.
And you should know too that when we were doing our plans for the city council in November, BPNR had their plan, and one of their items for their goals was to purview sand replenishment. And I had a question about that. This was right after Cynthia and I finished, and they were told point blank by Councilwoman Kathy Ward that that is a coastal advisory function, not a BPNR function. And Steve, the chairperson, indicated that, well, they were asking because they get asked about sand rather than water. But that didn't matter. He said, well, we said, we don't really have to have that as a goal. And she agreed. And he said, but we'd really like to have a presentation from Tom Vonnegut to come in and educate us. We don't want it third hand or fourth hand. We don't want to really read about it. We want to have a one-on-one with Tom. And they thought maybe we could do that in tandem. So, BPNR and coastal. So I'm not sure how it ended up in the end because I had to leave the session for a minute. So I'm not sure if they decided to do singles and singles. I think Tom would prefer to do an in tandem meeting if he was speaking, just for his time. But you can check with Cynthia. Maybe you could check with who is it, Samantha?
Yeah, I mean, when Tom hears anything, then we can move forward with that too. Yeah, I can.
Well, BPNR are broadcast, so they're on YouTube. So if we know what's going on at BPNR and we want to listen to, we can listen virtually.
They're on YouTube right now too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So anyway, I wanted to put that word out there. So we had that confusion before. Remember with the BPNR master plan? Who was on first with sand? Oh, by the way, and speaking of sand, one last item for me is did anybody see in the article in the paper and on the news, on the television news, the sand pushing in San Clemente?
Yes.
Well, yeah, wasn't that was pretty cool, wasn't it? And not only cool for the kids and surfers to have some fun with, but very diligent. It's some practice that they do annually around this time of the year. They push the sand up higher on the shore to protect the beaches, etc. So people walking out there now, when I went down to the coastal trail today from my area in Riviera, I couldn't really see the beach hitting the coast because the berms are high. But it was fun. You could see people just frolicking and having fun. I could see tops of heads. So that was pretty cool and very wise for sand replenishment. So good things are happening all over in San Clemente. We just need more. More is good. All righty. Any other comments from staff or CAC members that you'd like to share? Something coming up, an event or anything like that? No? Oh, wait. One last one. The big surf contest for surfer people is happening. The finals of the surf contest, the World Surf Contest, it's going to be down at Trestles next fall. That's a big win. Usually it's in Hawaii. So they've turned the tables on their schedule and they're finishing up at Trestles. How fun is that going to be?
Yeah,
Oh, to get
it's
a
true.
skate
It's
park.
true. The tour didn't stop at Lower Trestles for maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
it's very exciting. Yeah, for sure. It's great
Well,
for the city.
Yeah, they got mad. The tour got mad at the state for some management issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But at any rate, yes, it's true. So this would be the best time for you to buy a state park pass if you want to get a parking space.
Mhm.
That'd be worth it. Anyway, so that's my last 2 cents worth of information. Other than that, And nobody has anything else to offer. I am asking for somebody to adjourn the meeting.
I think there's an issue with the adjournment date. I
Yeah.
think it's supposed to be December 10th, right?
Yes, I notified Cynthia of that today.
December 10th, or say December 10th. Thank you.
Joe, since you noted that, would you like to make the adjournment for the meeting?
I sure will.
Thank you.
Let me go back to the spot. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yep. Yes, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the next Coastal Advisory Committee scheduled for Thursday, December 10th, 2020 at 6:30 via teleconference.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. But this meeting is officially over, but I want to say to you, thank you so much for all your input tonight, as usual. You're just a great team to work with. Thank you very much. And happy Thanksgiving.
You too, Susan. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. Good night now.